Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Full game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop!
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Hope you're having a nice warm day on this Tuesday here in early January. Hope all things are going well. And you got dug out from the snow as it's pretty deep out there. I think we ended up getting about 10 inches all told, and it has finally stopped. And people are digging out for a second time. But it's no mountain for a hill climber, right? Looking forward to another great day. Mike DeCourcy will join us here shortly. Looking forward to talking about Indiana basketball. The college football playoffs are back in just a few days, as a matter of fact. Notre Dame will take on Penn State in the Orange Bowl, and Texas gets a big break by taking on Ohio State at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. So SEC opened that they can not get shut out. They should have been shut out of this, to be honest with you. Appreciate everybody joining us, no matter where and how you're listening on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref. Always the right call down in Evansville. 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, WJOB, and Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it locked on these stations. No reason to go anywhere else. You get everything you need right here. Hope your day has started well, going well. How did the snow impact you in any way? Oh, wow. No power for Robert P. going on day 2. That's no good. Holy smokes. Really? That's down in Evansville. So how much snow did the Evansville area end up getting? You know, it's only about an hour and a half south of here, but along that Ohio River Valley, changes things, man. You'd be amazed how it doesn't take being very far away for something to change. Shenanigans on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, and so can you be. Join us on the if you're not in an area where we're on radio, well, you could always find us on YouTube, and you should lock it in by just hitting that subscribe and notifications toggle. So Evansville only got 6 inches, but you guys are without power. That sucks. We got lots more than that. Got a lot. We didn't get the ice. So 9.5 inches in Boone County. It's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. Hope everyone gets no power though. That sucks. I mean, in the summertime, it's really inconvenient, but in the wintertime, it's a little bit more. O'Brien bragging. They got a little rain in Tampa yesterday. Don't be bragging. Don't be bragging. But I hope everyone came through it well. Looking forward to having Mike on. There's plenty to talk about. Big Ten basketball action last night. Wisconsin went on the road to Piscataway and got a road win. John Blackwell scored 21. Stephen Crowell, 18 and 10. Wisconsin sneaks away with a 75-63 road win, which that's a big road win, man. That is a big road win for the Wisconsin Badgers. I'm trying to pull up and see if daggone it, if Rutgers had their full accompaniment of players last night, because they had been without Dylan Harper when they took on Indiana, but not seeming to get over to that. I'll get that pulled up shortly. But that's a little surprising for Rutgers unless they were without Dylan Harper, who they've played 15 games overall, but he's played 14. So I'm going to assume he was back for that game. He only played 15 minutes, it looks like. Yeah, he was available, but only played 15 minutes. So, and scored 0 points. Wow. So basically, he was not there. He had 4 rebounds. That's the only thing that showed up on his stat sheet. Oh, he had an assist and a block, 4 rebounds, but 0 points. Yeah, Rutgers is that's going to hurt Rutgers. Benefited Indiana. Benefited Wisconsin as they go get a nice road win. And that will alter the Big Ten a little bit. Michigan State's still sitting at the top along with Michigan. They haven't changed. They haven't played anymore. Robert says that Harper was said to be suffering from the flu and recovering. Well, that seems about right. He played very limited minutes last night and just did not do much. At Ohio State. Yeah, I was going to get to that next. Couple of road wins in the league last night. All important road wins, as a matter of fact. As pointed out there, Ohio State slipped into Minnesota, who is the worst team in the Big Ten at 0-4 now, 8-7 overall. But they had to scrap and scrape to get out of there with an 89-88 win, and had to rally to do that. Devin Royal had 19 points. Bruce Thornton added 5 of his 18 in a second overtime as Ohio State had to rally to beat the Golden Gophers 89-88 on Monday night. Thornton hit a 3-pointer for Ohio State to begin the second extra period. Aaron Bradshaw followed that with a 3-point play. And it was a 7-0 run for the Buckeyes, and that kind of took care of that. But that's just how quickly even Minnesota is not a good team, man. Not a good team. But they managed to get one out of there. Hey, we've got to take a quick break. Looking forward to getting Mike DeCourcy on board. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio and plenty more of it from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios after this break.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Tuesday. Appreciate you joining us as always, no matter where and how you're listening. Stay warm is the key right now. That and don't have a heart attack shoveling snow. You always hear that. I remember hearing that when I was a kid. Not of kids, but other people going out shoveling snow and having a heart attack or something. I'm like, gee whiz, man, it's not that big of a deal. Just take it slow. It's certainly exercise, though. That's a fact. Exercise of the kind that I can't stand. I do not like being cold. Not at all. But that kind of happens in the wintertime. You don't really have a choice of the matter. The great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joins us now. Mike, how are you, sir? Happy New Year, by the way. I guess this is first time we've spoken since the New Year, right? Can't remember.
I think that's right. Yes,
yeah,
that is
we were
right.
off because we were off. Yeah, we were off. So there we go. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Jim. How are you?
I can't complain. I've been doing it, but I can't. It doesn't do me any good. Dude, did you guys get any snow in Pittsburgh?
We did. But not like I understand my old neighborhood in Fishers did. I think we got altogether probably about 3 inches, maybe 4, maybe 4. In small doses, though. It keeps making me go out and shovel the driveway.
You got the Christmas snow.
We got snow.
Not what I call Christmas snow, just enough to
see.
make it look nice.
Yes. Well, yeah, but it also, what it's done is it keeps coming in like inch and a half doses, so that you have to go out and
That's
shovel
the
each time.
aggravating snow.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, well, ours did not come in that fashion. Ours
So I
started
hear.
and it did not stop. I kept looking out going, is it? I think it stopped. Nope, it hadn't stopped. And I've not even stepped outside. But I'm surmising that we got about 10 inches here. Just
Oh my gosh.
The eyeball.
My goodness.
But hey, you know what? Mike, when I was a kid, and I don't know where you were back at the late 70s, early 80s, but when I was a kid, dude, we got pounded like 3 years in a row. I remember missing 3 weeks of school, and then all of a sudden that doesn't happen so much anymore. So it's kind of cool to see it, but for some reason, I don't have the fascination with it that I did when I was a kid.
Definitely not. Definitely not. My wife and I went to a baptism, my great nephew's baptism on Saturday, and they had gotten in West Virginia. But this was before the big snow. But we were leaving the church, and there was this young boy, and I think his older brother. And they had one of those plastic sleds, not like with it was, I don't know what you call it, because we never had them when we were kids. It's hard plastic.
A toboggan?
No, I guess it would be sort of a toboggan, but it's not, because the toboggans were always made of wood and had that little curly front thing. But this is just like almost a plastic,
just like a garbage can lid, concaved.
It's like almost rectangle shaped, except it's rounded at the ends. I never knew what they called them, because, like I said, they didn't have these when we were kids. But they were getting ready to go down the hill right by the church, and it's like, it reminded me of like when we were kids and we used to do our sled riding, and they don't let you do this anymore, but we used to do our sled riding on the country club that was like a mile from my house. We used to, and they let us do it.
Nice.
We were not trespassing. They let us do it. And then when I got to be older, then they said, hey, wait a second, this is supposed to be a great golf course. We can't let them do this anymore. So they don't. But it was a great place that you slid across the 10th and 18th fairways. And it reminded me very much of that. It was fun when you were a kid, and when it would take you out of school and all of that. Not as much fun when you're an adult, although the telecommuting world has helped a lot with that. Because I don't ever have to worry about getting out and driving in the snow if I don't want to.
Absolutely. I'm here, and I'm all about it. All about it. Earlier I was talking about there were only a couple of games in the Big Ten last night, but both of them wound up being very tight. A little surprisingly tight, as a matter of fact. Up in Minnesota, Ohio State goes in there and ends up having to fight through 2 overtimes to come out with a win. I've talked about how tough, and we always do, about playing on the road in the league and all of that. And this year, it to me is going to be even harder than normal. This is an example of, I don't know if this is an example of that or just happened to be a good game by Minnesota, but it took all that Ohio State had to get out of there in 2 overtimes, 89-88. And then Wisconsin sneaks the win out of Rutgers because Dylan Harper's still fighting the effects of the flu. So big time road wins by both of these teams that are going to come into of great importance, more so than any other year. I think this year it's going to mean more.
I think you're right, Jim. You look at the opening of the SEC's road or regular season schedule that happened on over the weekend, mostly on Saturday, and how many of the teams that are tournament contenders that went on the road and got, for lack of a better word, obliterated. Texas, Arkansas, there were some lost, like Florida lost on the road. It was their first loss. They played very competitively at Kentucky, but so many teams just got absolutely destroyed. Northwestern, which has played very well with some bad luck, but has played very well in various games, went to Purdue and got handled pretty comfortably on Sunday. So you're seeing a great disparity in home road performance, maybe as much as profound as I can remember. I'm not going to say it's the biggest of all time. We don't have enough of a sample size yet, but really profound difference between home and road at this stage. We have, like I said, we only have a very small sample size. That some of the leagues, most of the leagues played 1 to 2 regular season games, major leagues I'm talking about, in December. And the SEC just began its schedule over the weekend. So we have very limited sampling right now. But I'll be interested to see if that holds up over the course of the year, if those disparities hold up as they have.
Yeah, and looking forward to as this league moves forward. I remember early on thinking, all right, I kind of thought who I knew was going to be fighting at the top. Then quickly I realized that, nope, just take that all away. Shut up. Then I was like, okay, I've got 9 teams. I'm just going to put my hand into a pocket or into a bowl and pull out a name almost. But then UCLA started kind of rising to the top for me. Illinois is up there. But at the end of the day, I still don't know. UCLA still looking pretty strong. They go on the road. That was a big road win at Oregon for them.
Right.
But Illinois did the same thing. So I'm like, okay, those 2 teams are kind of rising for me a little bit. UCLA and Illinois are kind of squeezing to the top. But that doesn't mean a lot when the margin of difference is about that much.
I'm interested that you did not include Michigan State in that conversation.
Well, that's only because I forgot, because there are so many. Seriously, there are so many, especially with the new teams. You're like, okay, I can't forget the new teams that were added. And it's like, there are others that I'm like, I don't, there's Michigan could win the damn thing for all that goes. It's that not complicated, but it's that competitive.
Yes, absolutely. I at this point in the season, I mean, I would consider Michigan State my favorite, but my partner Rafael Davis at the Big Ten Network often advocates for Maryland. There are lots. I think you can make a case for Oregon, although the 2 home losses are going to make that very difficult. As you mentioned, UCLA. Look, we're having this conversation to Indiana fans. I don't think you can rule them out. I know they have played really poorly at times.
I was looking forward to talking to them because they're a team. At the beginning, they were in my top based on the talent they had. Then all of a sudden you saw that they were doing the same thing that they've done. And I'm like, this team sucks. They don't have the chemistry, not the talent. It's not the talent. They're not playing together. Then all of a sudden, Mike Woodson was forced to play what a lot of people have been wanting to see, one big at a time. And as a matter of fact, I did put some numbers to paper yesterday, as a matter of fact. And with Malik out the last 2 games, that's a small sample size, and I'm not going to get excited about it. But Ballo goes for 25-13, 17-12 in those 2 games. Right. Indiana's 3-point shooting in those 2 games alone, they were 21 of 50 for about 41%. That's pretty daggone good. Yes. Now, previously, when you had Renew in and Ballo was not in for one of those games, he goes for 14-7, 14-8. The 3-point shooting for Indiana, 6 of 40. I don't know what the relationship is there, but it's a small sample size and could be very coincidental. But I don't think so. I think because of having one big, Renew's been replaced by Luke Goody. That's not the same kind of player at all.
No.
So that changes everything.
One of the reasons it's worked, and I will confess that I thought Luke was an 18-minute player. And I was convinced of that he was a guy who was very valuable for those 16 to 18 minutes, but that I'd come to believe that based on his career progression, that was his ceiling, that on a good team, I mean, not that he couldn't go somewhere on a 500-ish team and play 28 to 30 minutes and average double figures. He's a good enough player to that, but on a good team, I'd come to the conclusion that he was an 18-minute guy. And he has blown that away in this period when he's played more minutes as a result of absences. He is playing extremely well. He is embracing the increased responsibility of having to play 25 to 30 minutes, and what that does to his role. He's handled it, and he was brilliant in Philadelphia over the weekend. Just phenomenal. I mean, he was probably, if you look at it, as big a difference maker in that game as anybody this side of Ballo. He was. I thought that Luke making 3-3-pointers, getting 7 rebounds. That's just phenomenal. And I think they look like a more. I think they look like a more functional basketball team with one big, and it wouldn't work at all if Luke wasn't handling it like this. And I'm not saying he's going to score, 14 points and hit three-pointers in every game from now on. That's not the charge. It's you don't have to do that every night. No shooter. I've said this a zillion times. No shooter ever goes through a season without having rough nights. Steph Curry has rough nights. And so that he's not going to be like that and when he's not, he's not an elite defender and he's not an elite rebounder. But even at that, he still forces you to defend Indiana a different way because you have to honor him. He's as good a shooter as there is in the Big Ten, give or take. And so you have to honor him. That opens up space, that allows Trey Galloway to get to the lane, that allows Miles Rice to get to the lane. And they're a different basketball team. I love Malik Renew as a college basketball player. He is
it's nothing to do with a knock on him.
If of all players on that team, he's the last one that I would want to say that I would want to criticize, because his effort and his commitment have never been in question from the time he walked on the floor in 3 years ago. Just terrific. But I do think that Indiana is more functional offensively when they are able to put Luke Goody and stretch the floor. You watch Kentucky. Why are they able to score 100 points almost every time they get on the floor? Because they always have 4 shooters out there. They always have 5 scorers, and they always have 4 shooters. Now, I'm not sure whether or not Indiana can be said to have 4 shooters out there, but they can be said to have 3 when Goody's in the lineup.
They could definitely have 4 scorers.
Yes. And that changes who you are as a basketball team, how you can run your offense, how teams have to deal with you. When they were playing earlier in the year and they were playing the 3 bigs and it just wasn't flowing, they were easier to defend, even though they probably had more pure talent on the floor.
I agree, and it has made a huge difference. The $64,000 question is, will Mike Woodson stick with this when Malik Renew returns? And I just have a sneaking suspicion that he just won't be able to help himself. And even if he doesn't start him, it's his substitution patterns. Look what Umar Ballo has done in these last 2 games. 25-13, 17-2. Boy, you'd sure like to have that every night. And yes, if Malik Renew came in, would he offset some of that? Yeah, but it disrupts a flow of other guys. How does this impact how the ball is being distributed otherworldly. There has to be a reason. I don't know that this is just accidental.
This is not just a size thing. Let's make sure we say that. It's not about size. It's about skill set. Because a year ago, they did not have the same issues because their big was a floor stretcher. And so you could play Renew. And that the real problems with Indiana a year ago were not congestion. It was simply that they did not have a true point guard with Xavier Johnson missing so much of the year. And never being never once he returned being all of himself. That was the real problem with Indiana a year ago. They played two bigs. Mbako wasn't quite himself yet. He wasn't a fully formed college basketball player. Malik was the same player, but they had big guy who could stretch the floor, and so it wasn't the same concern. Ballo's a low post guy. He's not somebody that even you put in the high post and expect good things to happen. He's got to be around the goal to be effective. And honestly, he's not even somebody you throw the ball a lot to, expecting great things. He's somebody that gets great things done by chasing down loose rebounds and putting them back in. For the most part, he can score some singled up, but it's not his, he's not an A-level low post scorer.
No.
So that they are able to play in this circumstance. And look, if you get back to having Malik healthy, and you need an A-level low post scorer, then you play him at various times and take Umar out. And because you need to at the end of a game, say, you need to have him in the low post because you can throw it into him and get him fouled. And he's going to catch it, and he's going to make a good decision with the basketball because of all the things that I said before about him as a dedicated Indiana player. So he gives you a lot. He gives you a lot of versatility. He just doesn't necessarily need to play a ton with Umar in tandem. That's the problem, I think, that they had a lot earlier in this year and that they don't need to revisit.
I agree 1,000%, but I also know from history that I don't see that happening when he returns because we don't know when that's going to be. Yesterday, I had on here Mike Woodson talking about that very thing, and there's apparently no structural damage with anything along with Malik's knee or injury, but here's what he had to say.
Don't know when he's going to be back. It's kind of in medical's hand. I mean, he didn't tear up anything, but don't know when he's going to come back. I really don't. And I just got to follow the doctor's leads, and, he's got to do what he needs to do to get back when he can, but it won't be anytime soon.
Won't be anytime soon. That last little bit, I'm like, okay, so what's been said that leads to that? But we're not going to know. But if it's not going to be anytime soon, I hate to say this, not that I wished injury to anybody, but this is maybe the best thing that could have happened to Indiana right now as far as their success. Hopefully he comes back stronger than ever. I'm not wishing that on him, but Indiana can take advantage of this right now because they're a team that I had taken thinking they're going to be fighting at the top to, I said, this team's not going to make the NCAA tournament. Right. And I firmly believed that from how they were playing. Well, now I'm like, okay, if they play like this, I take that back and I change my mind. This is a team that can and should make the NCAA tournament now because they're playing extraordinarily well and they're a tough team to beat.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. One of the things that's compelling about Indiana's season is that look, there aren't any bad teams. We saw that last night with the double overtime game in Minnesota. There aren't any bad teams in this league, but there are teams that are lesser than others. And I think it's quite apparent from what Illinois has done in particular games, including the game that they should have won at home against Tennessee back in December. The game that they did win in Oregon, that's a terrific team and with great possibilities. Or Michigan State, as we mentioned before. There are better teams in this league, but the ones that Indiana has played to date, they began their conference season with Minnesota. They had Rutgers, which is really struggling for various reasons. Now, next up, they have USC at home. So they're getting the chance to build that they kind of sort of forfeited through the non-conference season. The opportunity to build a winning formula that clearly wasn't there after they went to the Bahamas or after they opened the league with their 2 games, the win I mentioned over Minnesota and then the loss at Nebraska. Even the Chattanooga game, it still wasn't there. They didn't have a obvious formula. But the last couple of games, they're starting to look like they have a formula. And now over these next few, they have USC at Iowa and Illinois at home. Now, USC gives you another chance, like I said, to build a winning formula. And then you have 2 games that are challenging in different ways. Iowa, because they're going to put up their 80, give or take. It's going to, like, that's their baseline. They're going to score 80 on you, and then you got to score more than whatever if they go to 85, you got to score 86. If they go to 90, you got to score 91. They're going to score. They're an amazing offensive basketball team. They are not an elite defensive team, but they're playing at home, so you have to be ready. Iowa is one of those teams that still has a pulse. I know it's early, but they're one of those teams that coming out of non-conference doesn't have an NCAA tournament resume, doesn't give you that feel, but they still are in the fight. They are, and that games like that are what would give them life. So you have to be ready for that. And then, as I mentioned before, Illinois trucks in across I-74, bringing probably the best pure talent in the league, roster-wise, as good as anybody has, and playing very well right now with a lot of belief and a lot of variety. It's not always the same guy who delivers for them. They have a pretty established hierarchy, but they have a lot of guys who can step up and, hey, on your scouting report, remember when you said all these other guys were going to hurt you? I'm hurting you tonight. So it's a really interesting series of games for the Hoosiers. And if they can get out of it at 2-1, then they really have some momentum.
No doubt about that. And I think another benefactor of this has been Mackenzie Mbako. He has just been kind of floating, treading water, I guess is the best way to put it. He's been there, but he's not really been, standing out. Well, he has been standing out these last couple of games against Penn State and the Palestra, which that's a great road win for Indiana. I talked yesterday that Indiana has to steal some road wins to be in the Big Ten race. And that's one of those. That's a big time road win against a team that has beaten some good teams. Mackenzie Mbako goes for 20 points, 7 of 13 shooting, 4 of 8 from behind the 3-point line, 2 of 2 at the free throw line. He grabs 4 rebounds, dishes out a couple of assists. Man, you'll take that every day and twice on Sunday from that guy.
Yeah, he's been outstanding in those games. The 2 Big Ten games since we resumed competition in the conference, he's been outstanding. And exactly the player Indiana needs him to be what we're talking about, to be a team that is relevant to the NCAA tournament pursuit, that maybe even pursues, I still don't see them winning it, but pursues the Big Ten championship. If you're in the hunt for the Big Ten championship, there's nothing you can't do within the confines of this season. If you could win the Big Ten tournament, you could advance deep into the NCAAs. That if you can compete in this league, it's not the SEC of 2024-25, but it's the second best conference in college basketball this season. And if you can compete in this league, you can do a lot in March.
Someone asked, curious if Mike would agree with this statement. SEC basketball is what SEC football thinks it is?
That's a great question from Andy. I will tell you this. One of the interesting things about that question is that SEC football schedules like as if they don't have to prove anything to anybody. They all those Mercers and Citadels every November. It's just maddening. They really don't. Meanwhile, in the Big Ten, you're playing Michigan and they're telling you Michigan's not a hard game, but you're playing Mercer. I mean, that's just. But one of the genius things about the SEC's basketball is how they schedule. I don't know that anybody sat down and said, "Here's how we're going to do this," but it would shock me if no one did, because it was just perfectly designed. It's what the Big Ten, what the Big East, back when they had 16 teams and they had to schedule every year with 16 teams. Back in the early part of the century, they came up with what they called tiered scheduling. And if they expected you to be significant, UConn, Pitt under Ben Howland and Jamie Dixon, Syracuse, those teams all played double games against one another. And then as few games as possible against the then DePaul, Seton Hall, Providence, which were at the bottom of the league. And the teams at the bottom of the league all played each other twice because it helped them get some wins. And what that led to was it didn't diminish any of the teams at the top because they were able to handle it. And down at the bottom, it made them look a little bit more attractive. Now, what the SEC seems to have done to me is transport that to non-conference scheduling. Because you look at Auburn's schedule, and they played everybody short of the Knicks. They're just a ridiculous schedule. Alabama was pretty much the same. Florida, I'm getting yelled at every week by Florida fans for seeding their team third or fourth. We're 13-0. We're fourth in the poll. We're great in Ken Palm. Yeah, but you haven't beaten anybody. You have one quality win. You beat Carolina on a neutral floor barely. Carolina's not even in my field. You've got nothing done, but you're 13-0. And you got good power rankings, and that makes everybody else look good if they beat you. Like Kentucky, quad 1 win on Saturday, even though it was in their gym. High quad 1 win because Florida comes in as like number 4 in the net or whatever it was. It's ingenious. And then at the bottom of the league, Missouri did play Kansas, and they did play in Illinois, and they played Memphis, but that was it. And they won every other game they played, and they pulled the upset against Kansas on a neutral floor in Kansas City. South Carolina played almost no one. Did get Clemson in their gym and beat them. So all this makes the league look really good. Now, when I say that, you have to win the games. And Oklahoma did beat Michigan. It was close, but they did. And Florida did beat Carolina. It was close, but they did. They didn't have to do that a lot, but when they had that opportunity, they did it. So that's why the SEC is really special. It is extraordinary, but it also was ingenious. Whether there was a plan or whether it was all by accident, I still haven't ascertained that. But that's why the SEC looks like it does now. If they had scheduled haphazardly, they would still be the best league. And they probably would have won 85% of their games. As they did it, they won 89% of their games, which I've never seen before. I've never seen a conference go out and win 89% of their non-conference games.
Yeah, they are without question the strongest league going right now, and headed by the number one. Well, they actually have the number 1 and number 2, but the number 1 is actually Auburn. This is one thing I don't get about the stupid AP voting. Everybody knows that Auburn is the best team in the country right now. I think they know that they're better than Tennessee, but because Tennessee magically vaulted to that spot, unless they do something, they're not going to get moved. I'm like, well, that's ignorant. Why not? Why are you not voting for the best team, which is Auburn with Johnny Broom and all of that? But it matters not. It just shows I'm like, why is that thinking here? That goes right back to the CFP. That same line of thinking, wrong line of thinking. I'm like, why? Just do what it is, say what it is, vote what it is. And so it's for whatever reason, there's this goofy mindset in sports when it comes to
it's poll mindset. It is, and it's why I refuse to vote and don't pay attention to the polls, because the fact that Auburn is by far, I mean, Tennessee is a very, very good team, but they
lost to Indiana, as a matter of fact, at Tennessee in a scrimmage.
They are an excellent team, but they are one of the teams that did not schedule the hardest schedule. Now, again, as I said, they got very few opportunities where they had to be great. And when they went to Illinois, they played well enough to win. Illinois kind of handed it to them. That maybe kind of is mitigating it too much, because they did hand it to them twice. But they did win the game. They were in the game and they did win it. They're excellent. But they didn't do what Auburn did. Auburn played everybody that they could get on a floor with, and they handled everybody they could get on a floor with except Duke at Cameron. That's it. That they are on my bracket every week. If I could have 1 seed, because that's what it really is, like no one else is close to them. They are so far and away the overall number one right now that it's an insult to them to put anybody else on their line relative to accomplishment.
Oh, man.
And so how you could then look at that and vote Tennessee as the number one team in college basketball, it's just ridiculous.
Tennessee will not end up even being a 2 seed.
That's an interesting statement. I can't say for sure, because I know what the field is, and I don't love the teams behind them. I mean, but I do, or a lot of the teams behind them. I mean, when I'm looking at Oregon as a 2 right now with two home losses already.
Oh, they're going to get. I think they're going to drop. They are.
Yeah, I think they will too.
They've showed some cracks.
Yes.
We got to take a break. Golly, see, I hate this. I could just go on for an hour straight. But we've got to take a break from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. The great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News is with us. We're back with more right after this. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. The great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News and the Big Ten Network is with us, and you can catch him. How many nights a week on the Big Ten right now?
BTN, you'll find me every Saturday, save one, from now until the end of the regular season. You'll find me in the studio, often with Raphael, my buddy Raphael, who we did Big Ten basketball and beyond with for 3 years, I believe we did it together. So that's when you'll find me there. I'm also on FS1, depending on the night, some pregame, some postgame. It's different occasions. It depends on whether we have a pregame or postgame show. And so I'm on periodically there. And then every Tuesday morning on Indiana Sports Beat, man.
Yes. Heck yeah. Love it, baby. Love it. Tonight in the Big Ten, Nebraska is at Iowa, Michigan at UCLA. That is a very interesting game. Both of those are on Peacock. You all can wide amongst yourselves. But boy, that Michigan at UCLA, that should be an interesting game.
You know, I will say this about Peacock. I did a piece last December. I have Peacock because they have Premier League soccer, and I'm those who follow me on Twitter know I'm a fan of Liverpool FC, and so I did an article about 10 reasons that you should get that you can benefit from getting Peacock, because they had an NFL playoff game. They had I think they had Kansas City versus Miami in the NFL playoffs last year, and so here's what you could get if you subscribe to Peacock, is what I wrote about. So as you go through Big Ten basketball, I do believe the Big Ten was one of the 10 reasons that you should get it, or that are one of the 10 ways you could benefit if you do get it, I guess I should say. And so this is another night where if you want to watch the best games in the Big Ten, and they're both really compelling. And Nebraska is right now putting an NCAA tournament resume, and they have to go on the road to Iowa, which Iowa is as fun to watch as any team in this league. And then that heavyweight showdown, it's really interesting because UCLA's defense has been excellent, consistently excellent this season. Their offense has struggled often, and they have to kind of scrape it over the line a lot of times because they just don't have a reliable primary scorer. It's always, okay, whose night is it, or what matchup is best? It's one of those two things every night for UCLA at the high major level. Maybe when they play UC Santa Barbara or somebody, they can talent it out. But in this league, they have to work for every bucket they get. So
no Jaime Jaquez.
There was no Jaime, man. If they had Jaime, they would be dealing. Jaime was something that they have lacked over the last couple of years. When he played for them, he was a star. He was a superstar, and they haven't been able to replace him or Tiger Campbell. Those two guys, they need another two guys like that. If they do, they'll get their program back to really rolling, because defensively, these guys have bought in for UCLA. And the challenge that Michigan presents with the 2 7-footers, that's unlike anything anybody else in college basketball has right now. No one else is able to put 2 7-footers on the floor that have completely differing skill sets. You know, down low, Vlad Golden, with the size and the power that he showed helping to take Florida Atlantic to the Final Four in 23, still consistently physically powerful down there. Then Danny Wolf, able to play on the move at 7 feet. There's no one else in college basketball like him. He's the reason that Michigan can play this way. To be able to play on the move at 7 feet with ball skills, able to hit the boards, passing, he absolutely gets them through. Now, what they don't have at Michigan, they don't have elite point guard play, and that's why Wolf is so important, because he complements the absence of that Xavier Simpson playmaker that they don't have right now. That's how Michigan is able to get by without it, because Wolf is so versatile with his skill set.
The CFP returns at the end of this week. I ran us so deep in that last segment. I left us like no time, which I'm not mad about because that was awesome. But I wanted to talk more about the CFP. But Notre Dame, Penn State, we could Texas or Ohio State. The biggest thing is they're expecting snow and frigid weather in Texas at the Cotton Bowl. And that, to me, favors Ohio State. I didn't think that would be the case, but is this game played at Jerry World, or is it still in the old in a Cotton Bowl stadium?
I thought that, that's a great question, because I thought they'd moved it. That's an excellent question, but I remember in 2010 that they had a lot of trouble with ice and just traveling around during the Super Bowl when the Steelers played the Packers.
It's an AT&T Stadium.
Okay, so weather is only a factor for the travel.
Yeah, so who gives a crap? Why they even mention that?
Because there is
playing that stuff.
And there is the issue of getting to the stadium. Remember, what I was going to say is they had lots of ice in Dallas for that Packers-Steelers game. And so it was hard for people to get around, and because they're not used to this. It doesn't happen. Okay, so I'm mentioning what that happened 14 years ago. So they're not set up to handle it like they are here in Pittsburgh or in Boston or somewhere like that. So it could be problematic for those traveling.
I hate to do this. Do you have a few extra moments this morning?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
All right. We've got a hard break that I have to hit, and we'll do that because I don't want to shortchange this, especially when you have one of the greatest minds going. We'll take a quick break. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio for those of you that are sticking with us. And back with more with Mike DeCourcy from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this snowy Tuesday, and we are so fortunate to always be joined by one of the greats in the business, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, from the Big Ten Network, and many others that fall under that umbrella that allows us to get to cover college basketball in some of the best ways possible. There's not a mind that has been around any longer, but also the college football world. And college football has become so much fun because of the expanded playoffs, because of the portal, not as much NIL, but the portal allowing, I don't like everything about it, but it has also made it what it is right now. It has given it this, the most, what's the word I'm looking, feeling of parity that we've seen, but there are still the best at the top, I think. And that's fine because you have that. You have that in the NFL. You have that in the NBA. There are teams that are just having the great years. Doesn't matter why. There are just teams that are just better than everybody else. It doesn't. You go back how far you want to go back. Go back to the Golden State Warriors. Go back to the Lakers. Go back to Bird and the Celtics. They were just better. It's just how it is. And right now, Ohio State, they're just better. Penn State, they're just better. Texas, they're a good team, but we're going to see how much better they really are. And then Notre Dame has fought to get to where they are. I was actually just looking at RJ Young. I don't know him, and I'm not picking on him. I just happened to pull it up. But with Fox, his bracket projection, bust. He's got 4. He had Oregon, Clemson, Arizona State, and Georgia making it. They're all gone, and that's nothing. But that just shows you because that's not a pick that would have been outlandish. But none of those teams are making it. But
I feel like any pick that didn't have Ohio State in it was a little outlandish.
Exactly.
I mean, I know Michigan was a disaster, but if you watch that team play all year, they were the best team in college basketball, and that's kind of why this idea of how we picked champions, so to speak, champions. I have to use the air quotes on that in college football forever. You're allowed to have a bad day in sports. That's how it works. Now you can't have a bad day in the championship, like if you're at Wimbledon, it's hard to have a bad day and survive. You certainly can't have a bad day against the wrong opponent and advance to the next round. But you can have a bad day in Cincinnati on your way to the U.S. Open and still win the U.S. Open. That's how sports work. The Steelers lost 4 games in a row on the way into these playoffs, and they'll probably lose on the weekend, but they might not. That's how sports are supposed to work. You shouldn't have had to be perfect in the past, because that standard, if that were the standard, then why didn't every perfect team get a championship? Because they didn't. And why did any team that wasn't perfect get a championship? That was always the problem. Now you have a real way to establish a champion, and that to me is what has made this college football season so exhilarating, Jim. Because I remember in November sitting down at the end of a college football day and watching Texas A&M play at Auburn, and I wouldn't have watched a minute of that in any prior college football season, because Auburn wasn't any good at all. I think they came into the game at like 5-5, and Texas A&M was 8-2, so they would have been out of it. So why would I have ever watched? But I watched and I was riveted. And it was the same with Georgia and Georgia Tech a week later or 2 weeks later. That game, all of a sudden, because Georgia Tech stepped up and had a great day, went above who they really were, and Georgia played a little bit down. What do we have, 8 overtimes, something like that, 7 overtimes? And we were all watching. And the only people that would have watched in the past are absolute diehards, Georgia fans, Georgia Tech fans, and bettors. They would have been the only ones. But this time, all of us had a stake in it, because if Georgia had lost, then there's a good chance that that they wouldn't have made the field. If they would have had a chance to automatically get in with the SEC championship, they'd already qualified. But that would have dinged their non-conference or their at-large resume. And that's why we watch a lot of games in early March between, I don't know, let's say this year it might be Vanderbilt and Georgia. Like if they happen to play in early March, we'd be all like, yeah, let's watch that, because whoever loses that's going to have a tough time getting in. Whoever wins is going to have a great time getting in. That's what makes sports wonderful. Why do you think like 29 million people watched the Vikings play the Lions on Sunday night? So close to 29 million people, because there was consequence to that. That's what college football lacked forever. It's what they have now. And it's why they can't guarantee automatic bids beyond the champion for any league. Obviously, the leagues that we're talking about are the Big Ten and the SEC. But they can't do that because they will wreck November by doing that.
Yes.
So you're going to get the bids anyway.
Then it doesn't matter anymore. You can, the need to have to win games, to have to play well, it goes away. I agree with you 1,000%. You shouldn't have to. And I think the SEC's poor performance in the postseason this year it really shows why. You had a Michigan team that was decimated. They did not have their best players. Alabama pretty much had everybody, and they lost again. They lost 2 straight. They've lost to Michigan. They lost to Oklahoma, where they only scored 3 points. What they score in the Michigan game? Like 13?
Yeah, it was. I think the final score was around 19-13, 16-13, something like that.
Yeah, so they scored 16 points in their last 2 games.
With Jalen Milroe at quarterback, who was a 2-year starter. But if you keep it as it is, and if you want to expand it to 14 because you think that's fine, I don't have a problem with that.
Oh, that's going to happen.
But don't guarantee bids for leagues, because then you take away that incentive. If you're the SEC, if you go to 14, you're going to get 4 most years. You might have gotten 4 this year with a couple different results. The Big Ten, same thing. They're going to get 3 to 4 every year that this is, because they have, this is going to shock you, Jim. They have the best teams, the best players, the best coaches. Both of those leagues do, because again, they have tradition and money. So they're always going to be better than most of the ACC and the Big 12. Now, the ACC and Big 12 might produce a great team here and there.
Just like this year. It was just pretty much that. But I hope that this year's performance by the SEC has shown even the SEC, Greg Sankey, he would never admit it, but you do not deserve automatic bids, because that means that either Alabama, South Carolina, or Ole Miss would have automatically been in this thing. Alabama showed they absolutely did not belong. South Carolina got beat as well to a team that didn't even get mentioned for being in part of the college football playoffs. But and I don't want to hear this. Oh, well, it did what bull. I guess it just means more to the Big Ten. But and I don't know what the record is if it's changed. They were 4-1 against the SEC in postseason play so far. So great year for them. What is up next for you, my man?
Yeah, I've got a lot of things I'm working on. column, an NFL column, a college football column, and then a big project that I'll have next week on the NFL. So lots to look forward to at TSN Mike. And then I will be in on Saturday at BTN. We'll have a pregame show. We have a noon kick tip off. And then we have a post-game show, and we'll have the big show at the end of the day, wrap it all up.
One thing I meant to ask you and I didn't quickly, where is Indiana in your bracket right now?
They are not in my bracket yet, but they are before they were not even under consideration. Now they're knocking on the door.
I agree. I understand. And that's what it's going to take this for the Hoosiers to get back into those graces. Mike DeCourcy, make sure you are giving him a follow and keeping up with his free content at The Sporting News, people. The Sporting News is one of the rare, if not only, national big-time publication that's free. Is that right? I mean,
that is one of the few, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the oldest and most established. Mike, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you. He's stuck over extra today. We love him and couldn't do it without you, brother. Appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Jim. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. The great Mike DeCourcy joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. We've got more coming up. Travis Miller's going to join us. And J.D. Campbell, the former SID for Indiana basketball. I think he'll join us next. Back with more right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. The Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria in Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this snowy Tuesday from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. And welcome back, our old friend J.D. Campbell. We haven't seen him for a minute, but how are things going, man?
Very well, Jim. Just sitting back, enjoying
getting an opportunity to watch more college football and college basketball and stay in touch with all my friends that are in the business still, and just really just trying to enjoy life every day, getting healthier and doing my best to keep my mind fresh in this great world of athletics, whether it's professional or college.
JD Campbell, the former SID for IU basketball, many other things, but most recently for IU basketball. And let me tell you, you are missed greatly. I've been meaning to text you to tell you that you are seriously very much missed.
Well, I appreciate
that.
that. You know, my guy Charlie does a great job.
Oh, Charlie, love Charlie. Charlie,
Yeah,
awesome.
I just, I miss a lot of it too. I had a chance to work the Indy Classic in Indianapolis with Purdue and Texas A&M and Butler and Wisconsin. I got to see a lot of people that I would see every day and get a chance to get caught up with some of the people in my position at some of those great institutions, Chris Foreman and Patrick Herb and John Dedman. It was great. Enjoyed it. In fact, I worked so hard that one day that I'm going to take the next 100 off.
Perfect. No, Charlie Duffy has become your replacement there, and they couldn't have handpicked a better guy. Charlie is awesome.
That's my boy. He and
that's what it takes. I mean, you have to be special to be in that role because you have to appease your employer and especially the people around the staff that you're working with, more importantly. But then you have to deal with all of the different media types, and there are many of us, and that is not easy. So it's like playing tug of war with two different sides.
Well, I often, when people ask me about my experience, not only at Indiana, but throughout college athletics for 38 years, it's so much that people don't see, and that's okay. I was very fortunate to have a long tenure at Indiana, and Indiana basketball is different than anything else. It's one of the few programs, both in football and basketball, that has just a rabid intensity in terms of the coverage, the history, the tradition, all the different things. And so it's really a privilege. It was a privilege to really get to spend my time with that. And I know the relationships that I have. Just last week, I caught up with another former assistant, Nate Weekers in Cincinnati.
Oh yeah.
Went and saw Nate as they were getting ready to play UC, and then I just kind of broke into Fifth Third Arena in Cincinnati and dropped in on one of my former students, young lady named Ashley Hasiminovich, who is the front of the office of the UC basketball program, and then barged in on Tim Buckley, and
I saw that
Bill
picture.
Colmar and Drew Adams, who, yeah, and so that's fun. That's the great. We tell stories and really just at the time you're going through things, the stress and the intensity and everything that goes on with presenting a program that has such a great following and such intense fans and supportive fans. It's fantastic. But when you're dealing with it, there's drama every day, just small things, and you just got to navigate that, survive it. And fortunately I was able to do so, and look back very fondly on everything and continue to look forward from the standpoint of, as I look back now, I saw Eric Gordon was at the game, I think Sunday in Philadelphia. Eric's been a fantastic supporter. And I saw a question there. I was with the program from May 2007 up until July 2023. So really the first Kelvin year through Mike's first 2 years, a lot went on. A lot of great things, a lot of great players, great people. but a lot of challenges too. So I feel very fortunate and I'm glad to have met and have so many great relationships to take away from those years at IU.
Well, you certainly made it better for a lot of us. No question about that, and always appreciated. But your sports knowledge, though, is awesome for people that you don't understand. First of all, JD played baseball. And where did you play?
I grew up in Las Vegas and played high school baseball there. Got a scholarship to Taft Junior College in
California.
Yeah, by Bakersfield, and played on a team that went to the California JUCO World Series in 1983.
My old football coach played football for Taft, man.
Who did?
My old football coach.
Well, it was a
His
football
name was
power.
Ron Wigleb.
Okay, it was a football power. Actually won a national championship in '83, and then I went. I accepted an offer to go play at the University of Nevada, and at the last minute decided I wanted to get out of the West Coast, and I went Midwest to an NAIA power at the time, Kansas Newman College, and played there for 2 years. So that was my background. In fact, I'm excited because I weigh right now 162 and a half. I weigh what I weighed when I was a sophomore in college, and that to me is just being up as high as 225 during the day. I feel really fortunate and feel great. And, so I take that. And so now I can sit back and watch and sit back and learn as we see all the different things that are going on in college athletics. And, I follow, pro sports, baseball exclusively, mostly, but, I follow our guys in the NBA and the NFL. I only care about how the Rams are doing and don't get to watch them that much, but
so you're a Rams fan?
Very much so. Yeah.
I grew up a Rams fan, man. I did not know
Roman
that.
Gabriel, and then John Hadle to Harold Jackson and those late 70s teams.
Pat Hayden, baby.
Oh,
Pat
yeah.
Hayden.
Vince Ferragamo.
Vince Ferragamo, all the great linemen. Jack, was it Lambert?
No, Jack Youngblood.
Jack Youngblood. Who was he? Was he the one that played with the broken tibia against Pittsburgh?
Yeah, and they had Fred Dreyer, and I like I say, Jim, we're so old we can remember Joe Namath as a quarterback there for the Rams at one point.
Yes,
so,
I actually do remember that in the waning years of his career. But absolutely. Speaking of football, man, how not having to do anything with it, but how much fun was it watching what Kurt Cignetti and Indiana did this past season?
Well, let me just say this about what they accomplished. It's the greatest turnaround for a program in the history of college football in 1 year.
I agree.
Not even close. Because when you sit there and you look at the history of Indiana football, and then you come in and turn it into a team that goes to the CFP playoff. I mean, it's just like, boom, skip the step. Because I know, generally going into the year, everyone's hoping, hey, let's get 6 games. Let's get back to a bowl. Let's do this. Let's do that. And they just obliterated everything. They got everything they deserve. You have to understand the media business to understand that why, some people were taking shots and stuff like that about the Indianas and SMUs, but they had the right 12 teams in the playoff. And while I'm not a fan of what they did seeding wise, and hopefully they'll look at that and make the tweaks they need to make. Indiana football, and the thing that I was most happy for is year after year after year, there are so many people that put their heart and soul into Indiana football, whether it be fans, whether it be people in the athletic department, that I'm so happy that they got to enjoy that experience. And I hope there's more to come for them, but it's the single greatest turnaround. It's the single greatest turnaround in the history of college football. When you look at 1 year and look at taking a program that wasn't thought of in anything to the highest levels. And again, on any given day, I think in any situation, their 2 losses were two tough teams on the road that a lot of people aren't going to win games.
Tough teams. Huh.
And
one's going to win the national championship probably.
Well, okay. Now, Jim, this is where you and I, here's the thing about that. It's week to week. It's week
absolutely.
To week. Now,
each game is different.
I'm familiar enough with the Ohio State program because my son spent 2 years there in the trenches with them, and then he's been gone the last 2 years in Nebraska. That's a program that, again, like Indiana basketball, but at a much higher intensity.
Yes,
where you win, and it's just a relief. It's not joyous. It's not joyous because
expected.
It's expected. And then to see what they had to endure after they came out against Indiana. And I always say, you don't want to play a motivated Ohio State team, which is what we saw last week in the Rose Bowl and what we saw when they played Indiana. But it's hard for programs like that many times to have joy. And you saw last week Ohio State had a lot of joy. Well, now they're going back to the Cotton Bowl, which they laid a big fat egg. If they play with the same joy that they played against Oregon, they got a chance to move on. But
they're playing against a team that's basically playing a de facto home game.
Well, yeah, I mean but I think at this point the pressure can be so great, and they played loose and played great. And I always look at it this way, Jim. When I look at who's left in the CFP, who's got the best backup quarterback? Because that to me allows you to survive. If your quarterback goes down, who can survive? We saw with Georgia. Georgia, and again, no knock against the kid that got thrown in there. But when you don't have your starting quarterback, it makes a big difference. I don't care who you are. And so, God forbid anybody get hurt. But I always look at who's got the best backup quarterback. And I think the best backup quarterback is Arch Manning, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see. Let the games.
Probably better than some of the starters that are out there.
Well, let the games play out. Will Howard had an unbelievable game against Oregon. And
that's the thing about Ohio State, JD. Their offense has gone from better than average to looking really good.
Well, they have
really
the talent
dangerous
to be that good, and but it's like anything else. When you have a lot of mouths to feed, and they got a lot of mouths to feed, whether it's the great receivers or their running back tandem, it's hard. And you see that in basketball too. When you got a lot of guys that can put the ball in the basket and maybe they're not getting,
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Dieter Brock being brought up.
Yeah.
I apologize.
When you sit there, and it's hard to perform at the elite level when maybe you're not getting the rhythm that you're normally used to. But the one thing that they did is they put the ball in the hands of the best player, number 4. Was it Smith? What is that the kid's name? Is it Jeremiah Smith? Maybe.
Yes. The wide out. He's a talent.
He's their best. He's their best player. Okay. And they went early and often to him. And I thought that was really the difference. And then you saw it open up. I hadn't seen Travion Henderson break a run like he did in that game, for a long time. He's been a mainstay for them for 4 years. And, when you watch him, it was just great. Just as it was great to see Penn State do their thing. Pat Crafts, the athletic director there, former teammate of mine here.
A lot of IU connections. People don't realize that Penn State, besides you got Tom Allen as the DC, people forget Pat Kraft is their athletics director.
Yeah,
former football player in Indiana.
And more importantly, their media relations contacts, Greg
Yes.
Kincaid.
Yes,
so,
Greg, who
you
was
know,
great.
you root in my time right now. I root for people. That's what I do. I root for people, and that's what that's why I can sit back and watch games, and when when I sit there and I worked that tournament a couple weeks ago, getting the chance to spend some time with that. Thad Mata. We were together for 1 year here at IU, and I knew him obviously from his time at Ohio State. And, when you know people, you take a little bit more investment. Nobody's been nicer to me through the years than Matt Painter, and got a chance to share a few laughs with Greg Gard as well. So, you root for people, and that's what really it comes down to right now is seeing who can do what, because my son, when he was at Cincinnati, worked with Marcus Freeman and speaks so highly of him. So,
you can tell he seems like a really good guy.
Yeah. And
very likable.
Chris had nothing but his experience with Marcus at Cincinnati. He couldn't speak, I remember him talking about him before he became a head coach, because he went from Cincinnati, then he became the defensive coordinator, I think, at Notre Dame. And so, when you learn and know about people that your family works with, it's fantastic. I'll give you another example is obviously, my background growing up where I grew up at UNLV, and you see Barry Odom, who did a remarkable job there. But then you see Dan Mullen get the UNLV job, and Dan was our quarterback coach at Bowling Green under Urban Meyer. And in fact, I introduced him to his wife. His wife was a television reporter in Toledo, and every week we would have our pregame media scrum. I always made sure that I had enough food to take care of the assistant coaches that were up there in the suites and take a break between all their game planning and whatever. And Dan came up to me. He said, "Hey, who's that? Who's that lady there?" And I said, "Oh, well, that's Megan West." And I ended up introducing them, and they took it from there. And so he's been married to her for over 20 years. And so I'm excited, again, just all the people you get to work with, the 6 degrees of separation. It's been, for me, a great experience to be in athletics in my life.
Yeah, I didn't the young lady I worked with at WOKY, the CBS station in Louisville. That's the wife of Bob Baffert. Same story, how they met at the Kentucky Derby. But I'm looking forward to the CFP, but more importantly, I'm looking forward to next season, because I think it's going to get even better, because teams have now seen they actually have a shot. They can be in the college football playoffs. And by having Indiana, and even though that some of the teams, Arizona State got in by the byes, whatnot, having them in there was awesome. Had they done the rankings or the seeding the way the teams were ranked, I think that would have provided much better first round games, because that would have changed the lineup. You would not have had the such discrepancies. But regardless, I think this is something that's going to get better and better, and I think the people are going to love it more and more each year.
My hope is they end up going to 16 teams, so everybody plays the first round game at home, the top 8 seeds.
Now, okay, the only thing I don't like about the home games, JD, is if they have to split the tickets equally, just like they would at a bowl game. Or, man, that's every home game team won this season on those first round games, which is not to be expected. And I think that would continue a lot.
Well, I understand why you would think that way. My thought process on it is they want to make sure that they have a sellout, and asking fans to travel to 3 or 4 different sites to follow their team would be awful tough, in my opinion. Okay. And, I do understand, again, to me, maybe you could find 8 neutral sites, certainly, and kind of like the basketball regionals, play the team that's closest. You've got Indianapolis, you've got Detroit, you've
Lucas
got
Oil
Minneapolis,
Stadium, yeah,
you've
these
got
stadiums.
Vegas, you've got SoFi Stadium, you've got New Orleans, or some of the sites in Florida. So we'll have to see what happens, but I do think that the interest in college football is at an all-time high. And I also want to say that I thought the bowl games were extremely competitive
and entertaining.
A lot of them were very, very fun to watch. And I think that's what, they're trying to hope for in college football. And so, these past few weeks when the bowl started have been a lot of fun for the fans to be able to watch, and a lot of fun you saw a lot of joy in the teams that were participating. And so that's good for college football.
It was. And normally people like Kirk Herbstreit are great for college football, but I have to admit what he did to Indiana the day after they lost was pretty damning, and it was way too soon, because had he just waited, he would have seen that Indiana played some of these teams equally better or better than some of the others. And I think it was unnecessary. But he did whatever he did. You expect that from Paul Feinbaum. He's just a paid figurehead. He's going to do that. But Herbstreit, the way he went off, and even Nick Saban is very brand biased. He's very obviously one of the smartest guys in the business, but he's very brand biased. And a lot of these guys can't get this out of their head for some reason.
Well, one thing you've got to remember is that there are certain conferences that are partners with certain networks. And I'm not saying that this is why. I'm just saying that with the Big Ten not being affiliated with ESPN, and that the SEC, first off, number one, the media is a business.
Right.
It is a business like everything else, whether it's newspaper, television, radio, everything. And so what we have found, what we know is that, disconnect or discontent seems to sharpen our mind when we focus on what people are saying. And so whereas I can sit there and say, I think what Curt Cignetti did was the greatest turnaround in the history of college football. That doesn't move the needle for those brands. And, it's just part of it. The thing I will tell you, and the thing I would tell the guys that I served, that, it's the head coaches, when they would get mad at something somebody said, I said, look, they're talking about you. That means you're important. And more than anything else, the fact that they're talking about you or whatever, I think, people have a mindset. Things may last for 2 or 3 days unless you hold on to it and continue to harbor on it. But you want to be in conversations. And so if they're talking about Indiana, whether they want to sit there and break down everybody's schedule, look, the era of balanced schedules with these large number of teams and conferences is over. Okay. It's over, because you're not going to have teams play equally the same schedule that you had for years and years and years and years. And so because of that, the SEC teams don't play the same teams. The Big Ten teams don't play the same teams. In the ACC, they're not playing. The Big 12, they're not playing. I was really surprised to see in the, a all Big 12 matchup in the Alamo Bowl, but they never played. They never played. To throw it to basketball a little bit, tonight Arizona goes to West Virginia. Well, they happen to play in the Bahamas already. Those things were set up well before the match. The matchups could come through, and they could stay away from teams being in the same conference. So, if people are talking about you, you don't like it, and you may MF them behind closed doors, but you're in the conversation, and that's a great thing. And more people know about Indiana football right now than probably ever. Jeff and Greg and those guys did a wonderful job of navigating the media interest that came about. And you got to credit Coach Signetti for making himself available so much on so many large scales. And that's what they're doing. People know, again, today's kids have a very limited memory, and today's kids that are in football, they know Indiana with Curt Signetti is an unbelievable program, and they're looking at it. They saw the great fan support over the course of the last few weeks. The train got rolling, and Indiana's going to be a factor from here on out. No question in my mind.
None in mine either. Looking forward to it. JD, looking forward to getting you back on as well. Always a blast. Hopefully we can do this a little more regularly.
Just like I say, not doing much right now. So taking those 100 days off till the
appreciate you, buddy.
Postseason basketball, man.
Appreciate you so much.
You take care, buddy.
Appreciate you. JD Campbell, great friend of the show and just a great individual, period. We've got more coming up. Travis Miller from Boiler Upload will join us. We'll talk some Big Ten basketball and more right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. with a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music. You can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the hard truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the hard truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday, coming to you from high atop the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, Rack House number 1. As that snow is out there, people, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon, as I don't expect the temperatures to rise above freezing for the next couple of weeks. Travis Miller with us. How are things in West Lafayette?
I'm just happy to be home. I was down in Fort Walton Beach, Florida over the weekend, and I was down in Fort Walton Beach,
Florida over the weekend, enjoying the warm weather.
But yeah, thanks to the weather, I had a travel nightmare. It took me 2 days to get home. So I'm just glad to be home.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just messing with you. Jealous, man, sitting in this iceberg. But I hear you, man. The Big Ten has been exactly what I thought it was going to be, and it is going to continue to be a hodgepodge, and teams kind of sorting things out. I don't know. Actually, Michigan State and Michigan are at the top, but they're 3-0. So, but you've got three teams right behind them at 3-1: Indiana, Illinois, Purdue. So that doesn't include UCLA, who I think belongs in that mix. As I look down through there, I think that they're actually the last team for me that belongs in that upper level. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm down to 6 teams, and I'm including Indiana, and I would not have done that 2 games ago. I would not have put them in the category of having a shot at. I don't see them winning the Big Ten title. They just have not shown mostly because the wild card is Mike Woodson. And in that, I mean, they are playing as good a ball as they've played in the Mike Woodson era right now. But that's because by injury, he's been forced to go a different route that has been successful. Will he stick with that when doesn't have to? We'll see. But Michigan State, one of those teams that's up there. Michigan, they're not going to win the Big Ten. They're going to be good. They're going to be a tough out, but they're not going to win the Big Ten. Illinois is a team that I do see as very capable of winning the Big Ten. UCLA is a team I see as capable of winning the Big Ten. This is going to hurt your feelings. I don't think Purdue, they're going to be a very upper level team, but I don't see them winning the Big Ten this year either. I think it's going to come down to Michigan State, Illinois, and UCLA.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and I thought that Illinois' big win out in Eugene was pretty significant.
Huge.
They went out and hung 100 points on Oregon's floor, and I thought that was pretty impressive, honestly.
They dog stomped them, man.
Yeah, they put up some good numbers in that one. Obviously, Purdue is taking care of business here against Minnesota and Northwestern the last week. 2 teams at the bottom of the standings. But I think what you saw from Purdue, especially since the second half against Minnesota, is they're really starting to come together. I liked what I saw against Northwestern. Obviously, Braden Smith is playing like one of the best players in the country right now. But against Northwestern, you saw some of the role players finally start to step up a little bit and come into their own. Miles Colvin has been in a shooting slump of late, and he was able to come in, make some hustle plays, hit a big 3 late. CJ Cox got the start. He was in double figures with 12 points. Raleigh Burgess hit a 3 in the corner and, gave him 6 points. Caleb First is really coming into his own, just playing a lot of a hustle ball, 5 points, 6 rebounds, and an assist for Caleb. But, that's the kind of stuff that Purdue needs, especially as long as Kaufman, Wren, Smith, and Lawyer are doing their usual things. So I just like the way that they made a bit of a statement against Northwestern in that they were playing at home and they just absolutely took care of business against a decent team. And you like to see that. And really, I want to see that continue here over the next few games because they're at Rutgers this week. That's always tricky for Purdue. Then they host Nebraska before going to Washington and Oregon. So those next 4 are probably going to decide how long they stay in this race. But through 4 games to be 3-1, so far so good, really.
Yeah, the Big Ten is they have some talented teams. Don't get me wrong, but when you look at the top 25 and you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the top 9 from the SEC, that it's like, am I looking at the football poll? It's not. Now Tennessee is not the number 1 team in the country. They're ranked the number 1 team, but they are not the best team in the country, without question. Auburn is. I had that discussion earlier. Auburn is. Doesn't mean that they're unbeatable. They're not. They're 13-1, but they are coached so well. You've got Johnny Broom. Whoo, man. It's going to be a shocker that if an SEC team does not win the national championship this year. But they're loaded for bear. Mississippi
and Purdue
State
ended up playing 3 of those 4 teams in the top 10 plus Marquette. So they challenged themselves with a non-conference schedule. They got a nice win over Alabama. To me, Auburn is the most impressive team in the country.
Absolutely.
They took Purdue and just beginning to end just ran them off the floor, and so that was a very impressive team.
But they're doing that to about everybody they play, though. I mean, they are just. Bruce Pearl has just done a remarkable job. If you think about it, he used to be at Tennessee.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he has taken these SEC teams. It's amazing that they have all. It's like the SEC said, okay, hey, we got to focus on basketball, people, because even Mississippi State is 13-1. Ole Miss, where are they? They're 12-2 under Chris Beard in his second season there.
And Purdue got a win over Ole Miss too. They beat them by 2 out in San Diego.
Tough game, but let's see. So now that just adds one more team, 2 more teams in the so 6, 7, 8. They've got 6 of the top 9, and then 8 of the top 22. It's just a juggernaut of a league, man.
Mm-hmm.
That is truly. Now they thought that football was like this. They truly are like this in basketball, and I do not question that. They have some great teams in that league. Alabama has been good for a couple of years. The Big Ten, why? I wonder why is the Big Ten remained the Big Ten as far as the style of play. I mean, we can go back years and everyone's talking about, oh, that's the Big Ten. It's the big bruiser league, yada, yada, but not a lot of success nationally. And so it makes you wonder, hey, are these Big Ten teams kind of not staying with the modern game? And it looks like the SEC teams, boy, they get out, they go, they score. That's not Big Ten basketball.
No, it's not. And, you especially saw that the last few years with Purdue doing the, dump it into the traditional center and everything else. But you're right about it just being a bruising league. I was watching that Northwestern game on Sunday against Purdue, and, Purdue put up 79 points. They were comfortably in control, but I mean, it was rough and tumble. Brooks Barnheiser kind of got beat up quite a bit in the game physically. There were multiple reviews for, potential flagrant fouls and everything else. And, for whatever reason, that is just the way that everybody in the league tries to play. And I think it works for a time. But like you said, when you're on a national stage, it's not paying dividends, really. Yeah, Purdue was in the national title game last year, but part of that was they had the most physically dominant player in college basketball of the last half century. So they were able to get there, because of that. And I think you're starting to see a little bit of evolution, but it's not quite there yet. And, part of it also might be recruiting. They're just not getting the top guys that are coming together and forming a team, kind of like a Duke or a Auburn or anything else.
Speaking of top players, Liam McNeely, the former Indiana commit that is at UConn, is going to miss several weeks with an ankle injury. Not good for UConn. UConn already taken a bunch of hits early this season already, but he was averaging over 13 points and nearly 6 rebounds a game. Pat Kelsey at Louisville lands Mikael Brown Jr., citing the energy of the program, the family environment, and Kelsey's loyalty. He brought his own walk-ons from the College of Charleston. That is an amazing thing. I've never heard of anyone doing that, but I love that. I love that. He took some walk-ons that were at the College of Charleston. So obviously, no offense to these guys, but they were walk-ons at the College of Charleston. That says a lot. But he brought them with him. And that meant a lot because Mikael Brown was someone that a lot of people wanted. I know that Trent Sisley got to play against him a lot. Somebody shut him down in one of the games, so that was great to see. But great player, and that's a great pickup by Louisville. But it shows you how quickly teams can be formed. New coach, Pat Kelsey. New coach at Kentucky. They're winning. But this game has changed, and it has changed quickly. I don't know that the Big Ten is keeping up.
No, it's really not. And it's so fascinating also to see in this era of the transfer portal, just the way that some of these teams are approaching things. You've got some that, like UConn, they were able to just reload last year with a bunch of new guys. And I don't think they hit the portal real heavy and whatnot, but others are hitting the portal heavy and having success. And then you have what Purdue is doing, where it's we're getting guys that are our guys. They are committed to the style we play and what we do, and they're going to stay here for 3 or 4 years. And so far, at least, Matt Painter is bucking that trend, because he's not really hitting the portal heavy. He's kind of strategic with it. Obviously, Lance Jones was a tremendous pickup there. But, his teams are built with guys that stay until they're juniors or seniors, and they play together until they're juniors or seniors. So, that method is working for success, at least in the Big Ten. Purdue's been at the top here for, most of the last decade and whatnot, but as you said, it's just not translating nationally. But it's not translating nationally for anything. I mean, how many teams in the Big Ten have made the national title game since Michigan State won? I know Indiana has. I know Michigan State did a couple times. I know Michigan did a couple times. Illinois, Purdue, and Wisconsin. Yeah. And they're getting that far. They're just not able to finish the deal once they get there.
Absolutely. I appreciate you as always, man. I hope you have a good week and snow-free. Go out and make a snowman or a snow angel.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, Travis Miller from Boiler Upload. That's going to wrap it up for us today. I cannot thank everyone enough, especially each and every one of you. Without you, we have no reason to be here. Of course, we're back tomorrow to do it all again, and looking forward to it with the regular lineup. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.